Thrills, chills, and kills. That's what the bear said. And in turn, that's what Miss Ultimate Despair said too. The prologue of everything. Yet, it isn't actually the beginning of the story. It just looks like so, because that's what everyone has seen. The story goes far back, but the games are all the same. It's hide and seek, but after a body is found, you too must hide, while the others seek for you. If you're found, that's the end of it. What a repetitive, boring cycle. That's the short version. Funny, she seems so confident that this tragedy will continue forever. But the game has to end someday, no? Nothing lasts forever. Hope and despair are both victim to that little but significant principle. While hope may guide you on the way out, despair is what drives the killing game to the extreme. That bear awaits those vessels to devour, only made more prevalent as the game goes on. Those students could have made wrong moves, amounts ranging from 1 to several, and their fates could have been so different. Yet the result is always the same, an end. Will there ever be a killing game that truly excites me? I'm afraid not. How truly pedestrian. The first death that the audience shall witness. What results is nothing more than an obvious case. The ocean is now dyed with a scarlet hue, contaminated by motivation. That's what happens when you are blinded by panic, and suddenly the temperature drops, and now touching the body sends a chilly feeling down your spine. How truly bloody. In a way, she was someone else's gold. But gold will rust eventually. The memory, despite how old it is, doesn't seem to get any foggier though. Feeling despair upon laying his eyes on her fallen state is reasonable for the lucky student. The grief that comes after makes anyone think about what they could have done to prevent something like this. Why did I choose to leave them by themselves? Was it something I said? Was it even preventable? In any case, he poured his heart out for the poor girl. But calamity would strike once again, dear student, and you haven't seen the last of it. Now that the slaughter in the classroom is over, it was time then to leave that prison they call the school. They were met with a horrendous sight outside. The world had been destroyed. Despite that, there was hope in the air. Getting through that mammoth of a killing game was no easy feat, and while they were headed towards an entire ecosystem filled to the brim with despair, one small ray of hope can shine and swallow up the despair in an instant, like a black hole draining all of the light. He is the most hopeful of any student I know, but he can't stay blind, knowing that one instance of despair is going to be enough to corrupt him. He must be rational about the world, as it is actively out to destroy him. One word strikes me as odd, though. Together. It's almost like he knows this will end happily. Whether it is something he truly believes, or it's simply blind optimism, he would be correct in a way. He held hands with everyone he could and brought them into a future he could call his own, together. If only it were the same for me. One game ends, but that doesn't mean the host doesn't have influence over the next. While others may see despair and lose themselves to it, she brings despair and is intrigued by it. While she claimed despair is unpredictable, hope always seems to triumph over it. What's the point of destroying the world when it will be restored in the future? Despair doesn't seem to have any future. It just happens. She had no reason to do any of it. It just happens. And it also doesn't seem rational for others to do any of it either. It just happens. Perhaps there is some unpredictability in despair after all. It's a variable that she is unable to account for. Despair makes people irrational. They do things that just don't seem normal for them to do, and in a way, it can excite some people. But what good is that same unpredictability when everything else falls into place along with it? We always know where it ends up. People simply die over it. To everyone else, the world of despair is a living hell of vulgarity that they wish to get out of. To the diva of despair, the world of despair is her home. Hope always seems to win in the end. He was practically on the brink of death, but thanks to his good luck, he defied its rules one too many times. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened again. How curious is it that someone so full of life reeks of lifelessness? That lucky student made it a point to make his entire existence all about fighting for hope. Even as a remnant, he made his personality all about fighting for hope. Even when giving in to despair is simply part of the procedure. When I saw him on the way to the island, he said something about seeing the lady of his dreams that he just so happened to hate so much. I knew exactly what he was talking about, preserving the body and all. On the island, it was the same old song and dance, rallying for others to pursue hope. How purely dull. The most boring person I've seen who has a talent. Even when he perishes in the killing game, he wants to be seen as a symbol of hope. He is one of the walking antitheses of that diva of despair. Eventually, he calculated a system that could save everyone. It failed, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how one sees it. However, at least, in that very moment, he could say, "It was all directed to me." The servile tool fell to the army, leaving the prince in the winter cold depths of despair. She wondered, did I have any purpose? The ultimate swordswoman was the most important person to the ultimate Yakuza. Choosing to disobey each other led to one of them dying, ergo a boring result. Are they familiar with what's been going on around them? In any case, they don't take each other's presence for granted, so the sword being unsheathed into an unwinnable fight affected the Yakuza greatly. Love does not simply need to exclusively mean romantic, as platonic love seemed to describe these two far greater. Honor was something the Yakuza took very seriously, so living for her and the other fallen students was what he chose to do. He has a kind heart, but a rough exterior, which is seemingly unfitting for a Yakuza. The shell was breaking once the swords were stabbed into the stone, breaking the tool into a disintegrated pile of rubble, pebbles, and blood. He said it too, Together. Together, together. He regrets his demeanor and strives to better himself to atone for his past. One can certainly tell how much the swordswoman meant to him. And at the end of the day, he saw her as a human being. She, on the other hand, saw herself as a tool. Me, I see her as a tool who is still fulfilling her purpose. The tragedy. The battle between hope and despair. The holy unrest of humanity itself. Pointless violence had flooded the streets, even amongst their own consciousnesses. But before that was the birthplace of it all, the school that was supposed to be the cradle of hope. Fallen from the tree was one mandarin orange, and its seeds had been infected by the unholy despair that had shook the school. And when those seeds had grown, the garden that was her class had become a new generation of despair. She had remembered it all, everything. That boring student described it as follows. The nurse had an expression full of despair, a despair so devoid of hope that not even a single fragment remained. But that wasn't necessarily true. She had hope indeed, but that hope was twisted by a fever so morbid that her only desire was to see who she would call her beloved upon death. We were all brought into one place to have the diva of despair come back anew. That would not have been just despair. It would have been total despair. I sing in this one. People should know that everything that everyone does is meaningless. Whether we battle for hope or despair, what is the point when we all know that the world will come to an end one day? No matter what one argues, you won't be there to see the end of it. I exile myself to a seat befitting of those blessed by the gods, only to observe and interfere if I ever feel necessary. Look down at the world. Isn't it a pity? In a way, I am a god at most, and a superhuman at least. And as such, you can never compare to me, as you are an insignificant pile of rubble easily kicked away at someone else's feet. If you couldn't compete with other commoners, what say an artificial ultimate hope? I suppose she was correct. They were right to fear me. Are you beginning to understand? I believe life truly has no objective meaning. Impossible for anyone to comprehend all of its teachings. Even a mutual killing game is another insignificant little ripple. And for whatever reason, I feel empty. As if I am missing a part of myself. That hairpin I carried with me everywhere is a portion of uncertainty that I couldn't understand for the longest time. Perhaps I should take things in my own hands. While you may argue that this world is purely built on hope, what if I contributed a little bit to the mix? Putting this hypothesis to the test, I will determine what is stronger between hope and despair, and which will free me from this cage. Those in my way shall step aside. A rampage such as this one means nothing in the grand picture of the world, even if locked to a region familiar only to me. Let's face it, Well, she's the reason this tragedy exists. This boring world may need a little despair. Tsumaranai. The 7 seas of electricity are caught in a swirl of digital whirlpools. In this body of unforgiving water is the heart of one who is as precious as 1,000 autumns. I designed this game to have the diva of despair take her throne yet again, but as it turns out, things will end up okay, just like she said. She's not with us anymore, but she's with me, both figuratively and literally. Killing. She could never forgive that. With my power, I've unfortunately done terrible things that disrespected her wishes. But since I was able to bring our fellow students back, I suppose it's not all lost. Of course, this song and dance would be incomplete without her partner to tango with, the host of the body that I am one with. I live with his current name now, but it wouldn't be incorrect to refer to me with my given name either. As such, it's why certain parts sound so instrumentally familiar. He had to live with an inferiority complex, always desiring to have some kind of talent. But she was the reason why he was able to see that it didn't matter in the end. And now, despite him living with my power and his own identity, I still host a portion of his mind and can speak for myself, which is why these files exist in the first place. She may not have been the same person I once knew, but as we all shared a collective image of who we wanted back, the absolute most that we would have cried ourselves to sleep every night, any semblance of her would have been enough. The ultimate gamer was real, and we were unable to pretend like she never existed. It's because of her that we were able to survive in the end. I appreciate her creator, because without codename Nanami, despair would have remained in our hearts. A new era of killing means a new generation of potential despair. He believes lies are a way of getting closer to the truth. While it may seem ridiculous on the surface, I believe people should really consider these words more. After all, by psychologically cornering someone with purposeful lies, that someone will eventually be revealed to be a liar themselves. It takes a liar to know when a lie is being uttered. If something is being hidden, it is only a matter of time before it is revealed. By some small luck, he managed to get information that most of the other students weren't privy to. Well, it didn't matter too much in the end. Even the self-proclaimed headmaster claimed that he got a lot of things right. He was talking to most of the students during this little piece, but when things got serious, it seemed like he was trying to encourage everyone to work towards a brighter hope. He's always at odds with the assassin, suspicious of each other since the beginning, and while disturbed by her, he didn't hate her. The assassin, however, I'll get to later. But even when he did proclaim himself the king of the academy, he still wanted to help them. It was all being built up from before. When the alleged truth was revealed, what else could you really do? All you could do was bow down to your leader. A true princess of the demons, sprung from the river. An agile killer capable of hiding in the shadows and ripping people out of sight. No other characteristics define the ultimate assassin, who was trying to play the hero in the scenario she was in. She had arguably the most flawed attempt of heroism I've ever seen, blinded by her hatred of the ultimate supreme leader. No matter what, she would do anything to kill him, even defying what she was taught through her friendships. She went against the idea that belief can get anywhere, and while she really pushed for the truth, it was in a brutal fashion. She was clouded by a supposed status as a remnant of despair, a boring conclusion if that were truly the case. How naive. The killings just get more and more boring, and it just doesn't seem to bother me anymore, is what the ultimate assassin would like to have believed. Somehow, she is far worse of a liar than he is. And with the true mastermind's trap in motion, the assassin thought they were in far worse of a hell than she initially believed. The detective, the final one needed to break the cycle of killing games, reminisced about the various sufferings in this prime field that he and his fellow students had to endure. The piano played, truth and lies were told, and fiction had become questionable. As even when the tale they were in was fiction, the story that they witnessed was real. So is it a fictional tale because it's not real, or non-fiction to them because it is real to the characters within the fictional story? Ultimately, I suppose it is up to the audience to determine what is fictional. Even I am fictional in a sense. I am not real. However, my existence to people in and out of the story is real. He said it too. Together. Arguably the least amount of survivors, yet he utters that word, together. Is there a theme I'm missing here? Regardless, it seems like he is mourning those he feels is the most significant to him. He dearly misses everyone, even if some of them were murderers. The piano still plays in his mind. The supposed king of the academy was in a pressing situation, and the mastermind had revealed that their lives were all lies. The wilderness is hostile and conspicuous, but the detective made it through the mist and doubt to get to where they were. Who would have known that one of the weakest detectives would have ended the cycle of the killing games? Turns out hope was the true enemy after all. But falling to despair would have yielded a boring result. In the end, it was all a bunch of lies. So did it matter? In the midst of all of the chaos, broad harmony is birthed from the resolution. In this story, neither side seemed to be making an offensive approach, leading to what we in the business call a standstill. Nothing's happening, which means everything is boring. The side of despair makes their minuscule move, as robotics are being developed more to terrorize the city. Meanwhile, the side of hope is infiltrating the city, making their tiny attacks into despair, yet nothing too significant either. The rotten rivers of blood let a winter child into the mix, assisting the worried girl out of trouble. I'm in the mix too. Probably a strange combination to most other people. And ultimately, the despair that she wanted everyone to feel seemed unclear to me. So I questioned her plan. She was mostly motivated by her idol, not wanting to disappoint the late diva of despair. She even asked me that if I were to make a choice, which side would I take? How boring. The side I would take is whatever is unpredictable to me, and she should have known that. But hope and despair aren't advancing to their next phase. Everything keeps moving slowly. So her and I concur. We are left in a standstill. I have a question for you. What makes you enjoy the killing games so much? Is it just because you want to see people suffer? Is that why we sought to revive the games? It was so close to dying, but by sheer willpower, it was given life again. It's like a divine punishment that we are forced to sit through over and over, like some demented purgatory. We're helpless in a way, as the audience seems to love hope and despair clashing each other. You cheer and cry as everything unfolds in front of you. But what if the actual characters in game, you don't feel the blame? We can't sleep, as we are woken up to be players in the killing game. We can't run, as we are forced to slowly walk through the sufferings. We can't live for ourselves, only die for the audience and entertainment who watches us. We can't help but kneel to whomever this twisted mastermind is. You. All these lead to one simple question that might be hard for you to understand. What have you done? It's over. For real this time. A new hope had been born anew within a peculiar student, making his mind go quiet for him and gift motivation to end everything. He didn't know why everything stopped, but he chose to take part in ending the cycle. He believed that, with his talent, he could help save everyone by remedying the darkened state that they were in. It wasn't just him, though. The audience got bored. Fiction ended up not mattering to them, and with that, everything can now come to an end. While things may have seemed hopeless at first glance, we fought for this bittersweet ending. While the detective was also mourning for everyone who had fallen during this game, he wanted to simply escape. The robot, however, was the reason he could get out in the first place. Gratitude was all the detective could feel for the robot and for the will of the outside world. Hope and despair. I believe I found my answer. There's no point to have been found in either of them. Things always start from despair, but always end in hope. It's all the same. You, on the other hand, I believe you've heard all you needed to hear. Despite my answer, I wish to further test my hypotheses in case I've missed any details. So to all those listening, may we meet again.